Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're doing very well. Yeah, now, a little while ago, I reviewed a certain James Bond movie called No Time to Die. And I said that this was a spoiler-free review. And then I would do the big spoiler-rife. Let's go heavily into it. Throw the kitchen sink at it and everything that Q can develop. And and then days went by, and you're probably wondering, well, where the hell's that video, Kilt-Man? Well, that time-honoured thing called stuff got in the way. And I've also found it quite difficult to return to reviewing this. I actually have had a couple of attempts at it, and I died on my arse, as it were. I got about 20 minutes in and was just like, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, and I just turned it off. That's not because I there's any kind of like misgivings about the movie. Far from it. I love the film. I think it's a triumph. I think it's magnificent. There's errors and flaws, of course. There's a few issues, but overall, I think it's a phenomenal finale for Daniel Craig's era as Bond, and it kind of goes out. Really speaking, the only way it could go out. I mean, it's called No Time to Die, but really, you should drop the no, because it's time to die. I mean, you guys have seen it. This is the big spoiler review, of course. You have seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Yes. So we know. Let's mention that right now. James Bond dies. Oh my God. Now, I had predicted that he would die. Only a matter of weeks beforehand, mainly because I knew that there was going to be lots of references to On Her Majesty's Secret Service and the song We Have All the Time in the World. It has to play with tragedy. It has to do that. And we know that Daniel Craig was going to be leaving the franchise. And, you don't want a never say never again sort of saga, do you? So how is he going to go out? Well, with a bang, obviously. But speaking of bangs, it's blowing a real bad storm out there right now. So any second I expect our conservatory roof to take flight again. I can hear it creaking and groaning already. But yeah, so Daniel Craig had to sort of bow out in a big way, an emotional way. When you think about it, his character has had such a terrible time. Vesper gets taken away from him and dying before his very eyes. And he also thought that she betrayed him. And now you've got Madeleine Swan, who at the start of this, when they're in Matera in Italy, and he goes to visit Vesper's grave, and there's a little calling card, the little squid-like calling card from Spectre, from an old friend. And so, boom, the whole tomb blows up. So he thinks Madeleine's led Spectre to him. So he hates her. So he turns against her at the start of the movie. Which the start of the movie is pretty much straight after the events of Spectre. They have a big mad car chase. Bond's got ringing in his ears because, again, he's getting older now. So he's a bit like our roof. He's creaky, he's groaning. And every time a bomb goes off, an explosion, or bullets go winging past his head, you get that high-pitched ringing in the ears. And I noticed that a lot of movies are doing that now because they're acknowledging the fact that their heroes are a lot older and a bit more fallible. And certainly, it's in Mission Impossible as well, I'm sure, with Tom Cruise. And of course, the Mission Impossible movies are just James Bond movies, just repackaged. And very good they are too. But so, he then, pursued by Spectre, goes back to try and save Madeleine Swan, and also thinks, you led them to me. The secrets you're not telling me. So he puts her on the train, doesn't he? Now, if you'd notice, when she's on the train and he's just standing staring at her, good riddance sort of thing. I thought we had something going. She puts her hand on her stomach, on her tummy, because, of course, she's pregnant. Now, it's only when you see the film again that you notice that bit, to be honest. But so then we cut to 5 years later, and in the meantime, Bond is now retired and he's living the high life in Jamaica, Ian Fleming's home turf. He's out catching fish and having a good time, but he does come home to his beach house, And there's a little cigar butt. Someone's been here in my house. Someone's been here, and I think I know who it might be. And it's his old buddy Felix. Felix Leiter, Jeffrey Wright. You know, a brother from Langley. And I know I'm not going to rehash the whole plot again because I did that in the previous video. But it's great to see Jeffrey Wright again. I mean, you hadn't seen him since Quantum of Solace. And he was missed, to be honest. And it's great to have him here, although he's got into another CIA agent called, well, what's his name? Logan Ash, played by Billy Magnuson. And, I mean, you've got to be a bit naive if you don't immediately suss on that that guy is going to be trouble. The way that he hero worships Bond, he keeps smiling at Bond, he's too involved with what's going on, and Bond just wants to get away from him and have a chat at the bar with Felix. And, you know, he gets suckered in to try to get this. We've lost a Russian accented scientist who has been marvellous at manufacturing these nanobots, a nanobot virus, which was meant to be a smart weapon devised by, of all people, M. Rafe finds it's M. Off the books, this sort of thing was meant, it was to destroy or take out the threat of collateral damage, because if you had the virus in you, it could be targeted to someone else's DNA, it could be manufactured and just take out one person or a specific target, and no one else, like a drone strike would take out other people, an assassination attempt with bombs and stuff would take out other people. So this was meant to be a strategically very smart device. But of course, you know, if they can make it, someone can modify it. It's a DNA weapon, so you can redo it so it kills not just one person, but many people. It take out an entire bloodline, take out an entire family, take out an entire city. You could do whatever you want with it. Sorry, I'm playing around with this, you know, but because it feels right, feels appropriate. So he gets snatched. This scientist gets snatched, as well as, you know, some of this DNA nanobot drug virus, in a very sort of Dark Knight Rises style. And in fact, there's a lot of thematic similarities between this movie and The Dark Knight Rises and The Dark Knight, with the way that some of the characters behave and their methodology and their ideology, as we'll discuss in a few minutes. But so a bit like Bane taking out that guy from the plane at the start of Dark Knight Rises. The fire rises! And some great little trickery with magnets, you know, they drop down a lift shaft, but a hit squad goes in there, taking out, of all people, British comedian Hugh Dennis, who gets shot in the head. How dare they shoot him in the head? And obviously off they go, and it's Rami Malek's Lucifer Safin. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right. Lucifer Safin. Lucifer Satan. You know, it's a bit heavy-handed when it comes down to it. His moniker is a bit obvious, but he's the mastermind behind all this. He wants this professor, this scientist, and he wants him to doctor this nanobot virus so he can take out everybody, or a sizable portion of the Earth's population. Why? Well, he's a Bond villain. You know, he's a megalomaniac. He has heinous tricks up his sleeve. There's a definite touch of the Joker about him, because when he does deliver his monologue to Bond at the end, why he's doing what he's doing, we're on shaky ground with this, to be perfectly honest. You know, it's a little bit like the Joker just wants anarchy, just wants to watch the city burn, you know. But this guy, Safin, he says to Bond, but people like oblivion. People like to be told what to do. They like to have things happen to them. What? I mean, I've seen the film twice now, and I still am thinking, what the hell is his master plan? I don't really understand why he's doing what he's doing. And likewise, I don't really understand that connection he has to Madeline. Because as we find out in part of the prologue, part of the lengthy pre-title sequence, when we flash back to Madeline being a young girl in her lovely isolated house in Norway, next to the fjords, and her father is, of course, Mr. White. And Mr. White had ordered on the instructions of Blofeld, had been ordered to wipe out Rami Malek's family. Not Rami Malek's family, but Safin's family. But he has survived, so he comes for revenge. He wants to kill Mr. White, but he's not there. So he kills Mrs. White instead. And then he pursues Madeline out across the ice, where she falls through the ice. And then he weirdly saves her. He pulls her out of the frozen water. And then we have the Bond and Madeline saga before the credits. But as we will find out, as she will confess to Bond when they finally have a reunion. I mean, you've all seen the film. That's, we can talk around stuff like, we can leap ahead and go back in time and, just having fun with it. As she confesses that, yeah, he saved her. Now, why did he save her? Why did he do that? And I know he does discuss this a little bit, but and he uses her because she's a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and she's treating, or I wouldn't say treating exactly, but she's studying Blofeld, who's incarcerated in prison. And that's a great sequence as well. But of course, Safin wants to take out all of Spectre because he hates Spectre for what they did to him and his family. And he's scarred. He's got, although it's not the most overt of facial scarring. He's just speckled a little bit, and in certain lights, he doesn't even look like he's scarred at all. But he wants to take out Spectre, so he has hijacked this scientist, and he gets him to doctor it and work the stuff out. So at Blofeld's secret birthday party, Blofeld is actually in prison, Belmarsh as well, Hannibal Lecter style. In Cuba, there's a big Spectre bash for him. So this is why Felix wants Bond to go to Cuba. And by the way, they filmed that in Jamaica. It wasn't actually Cuba, it's actually Jamaica. Go there, meet my other agent there, Paloma, who is Ana de Armas. Yeah, oh God, man, she is, well, I've said it before, and you all know, she steals the show. She's incredible. Sexy as hell, and she kicks ass, good style, and has a sense of humour, swapping banter during the gunplay and the high heels getting kicked into someone's face. The interplay with Bond as well. They work superbly together. Anyway, so that's why. But at this bash, this scientist has now, because he's working for Safin really, has doctored the DNA on this virus, the nanobot virus, and it gets dispersed amongst all of the Spectre ensemble, and they all get wiped out. But of course, there's still Blofeld. So how is he going to get to Blofeld? Well, I mean, there's the connection, I suppose, with Madeline, because she's the psychiatrist working with Blofeld, studying him. And he makes a reappearance, Safin, at her office, and he shows her the ghostly Japanese, is it a go mask or a no mask? And which is like a very strange, spooky little, almost Oriental Michael Myers style mask. And is a little reminder of, when we first met. So she then, it's you. And he wants her to go and kill Blofeld with a new DNA structured nanobot virus. But of course, in the meantime, Bond has now sort of been brought back into MI6, and we have the little reunion of the two of them outside the rather large cell that Blofeld's in. So her job is to assassinate Blofeld, but she can't go through with it. However, she does touch Bond. So Bond then is carrying the nanobot virus, and he does go for Blofeld and tries to strangle him at one stage. And then, you've got Tanner, Rory Kinnear in the other room, like, Bond, for God's sake, you're meant to question him, not kill him and all this. And Bond, snaps out of it. And but too late, because he's touched him. So in a great little shock sequence, and with a real big, jolt on the soundtrack as well, Blofeld snuffs it rather horribly. But that sequence is great though, because you have a huge intro. he's in this sort of Hannibal Lecter style motorised chair, which comes trundling down this long sort of corridor to where Bond and Madeline Swan are standing. And you see Madeline Swan's beginning to shake, and Bond spots that, like, but there's obviously various reasons. A, she's terrified of Blofeld, and she's also terrified of what she's supposed to be doing there. But after all this lengthy introduction of Blofeld coming down towards him, he just simply goes, James. It's great. Christoph Waltz, I don't like what they did with Blofeld, how he's the half-brother, the relationship with him and Bond. I don't like that at all. But it is what it is. It's there in this series, so we've got to deal with it. But the interplay between him and Daniel Craig is pretty good. But you get the impression that Waltz is just playing Waltz playing Blofeld. You don't really get an impression of who Blofeld really is. And if he's this totally almost satanic, ruthless figure, he's not very scary in the least, is he? And on the same topic of not very scary villains, Rami Malek is very, very low-key. He has this soft, sort of insinuating voice. There's a bit of campness to him, as you would probably expect. And there is the whole Dr. No sort of aspect to him as well. He lives on an island which is in disputed territory. Japanese, Russia, China all want it. In actual fact, it's up in the Faroe Islands. But and he has an old submarine base there. But he was brought up on that island, and it's like he's got a thing about toxins and poisons. So he's got that creepy garden. This is the poison garden. Anyway, so that's his big base. So you got a hint of Dr. No and a hint of You Only Live Twice, with the big island fortress with a huge army of goons. And speaking of goons, you know, Bond has to have someone he's got to go up against as well. You know, like Jaws, Richard Keel, like Stamper in Tomorrow Never Dies, like Red Grant from Russia with Love, you know. And it's Primo, this guy who's got a bionic eye, and you see him in several sequences, and the eye gets knocked out a couple of times, like, and but he's actually pretty good as a villain. And you do get a throwaway line of Bond saying, because at first he thought, hang on, you're working for Blofeld, because it's all Spectre who's been chasing him at the start of the movie. So it's all Spectre. But no, it's actually someone else who's been pulling the strings of Spectre and has then gone and wiped them all out as well. Safin. So he sees that this Primo is actually working for Safin, and he just says something like, how'd you like working for your new boss then? And there's little throwaway elements like this which come in, which I quite like. But as henchmen go, he's a definite throwback with his bionic eye. But I like it though. But his eye, a bit like Patrick Moore, you know. Can I see your anus tonight? But I do like him. So where are we going to next? I mean, as I say, I've already discussed the film quite a bit and all its plus points. I tell you what I have changed my mind on now is Hans Zimmer's score. And you know what? I have a habit of doing this. Initially slating Zimmer and despising what he's done to soundtrack production in around the world and Hollywood, his monopoly on movie scoring. And a bit like Blofeld, he has armies of henchmen, little minions who go out and compose stuff, but they do it because he, in the exact same style as Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer trains them so well. You know, it is a very Bondian sort of aspect there. Well, anyway, after slating the score and saying that there was nothing memorable about it apart from the references to We Have All the Time in the World and the main theme to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, John Barry. Well, actually, no, I actually like the score a lot. I don't think it's used particularly well in the movie. I mean, the showings I saw, and I've seen it twice, the score was slightly underwhelming. It's slightly downplayed. That might only be in the cinema that I saw it at, of course, and their sound system. But I'm playing the score right now, and I've been playing it a lot, and it's really, really grown on me. There is some great action. It's generic, yeah, and you've got the Zimmer elements, but the little references that are in there. There's a little Goldfinger reference. You obviously got On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and We Have All the Time in the World. But the build-up to the finale of the film is very, very impressive. And the Cuban, the whole bit in Cuba, the fight and chase there is excellent. In fact, it's playing right now. Because you've got a bit of the whole Cuban sort of, groovy thing going on. But the film's score does build to, well, obviously, the climax. Safin has kidnapped Madeline, and also Madeline's little girl. Oh yeah, Mathilde. And there was never going to be a shock there, was there? That this is actually Bond's daughter. But she denies it, of course, when Bond tracks them down to the home in Norway. And then pretty soon after that, he meets this mysterious young 6-year-old girl or 5-year-old girl. And then, obvious't Safin's goons all arrive. Massive big chase, all the Land Rovers, and everything's flying through the air, and great stuff, like. And Bond tries to save, Madeline and Mathilde. God, I almost forgot the names then. But in so doing, leading all the other goons away, and finally getting to kill that treacherous CIA operative, Logan Ash, who kills Felix Leiter on board a ship. Yes. Shoots him, and then puts a bomb in there and blows the ship up, so the ship's sinking. He gets away with the Russian scientist on Nomi's seaplane. So yeah, I have bounced around this, I know, but it's all part of the fun. I'm like a ricochet bouncing around the big 20-inch thick walls of this submarine bunker. But Bond at the end, he has to go and rescue Mathilde and Madeline, and with Nomi 007, and it's nice the way that after their grudging sort of rivalry throughout the rest of the film, she begins to respect him, and she says, no, give him back his designation of 007. So he is 007 for the big battle at the end. And he will go in there in that great, fantastic plane, which actually is pretty much underused. It was a big selling point in the trailers, but you barely see it in the movie. And it manages to go underwater, and they manage to pilot it nice and gently into this submarine bunker without anyone seeing them. And then they go on a big, mad, sort of battle-crazy rampage. Nomi will have a little tussle with the Russian scientist, who's a right gobby little swine, with the most ridiculous OTT Russian accent. I mean, it's got to be on purpose. They've got to have told him to amp it up. I think the guy who plays him, I think he's actually Danish. He's certainly European, he's not Russian, but he's putting on this big, mad Russian accent. And he says about how he keeps manipulating this nanobot virus. And he says to Nomi, I can wipe out your entire race. She's a black woman, So and that's where she goes, no, I've got no time to die, but it's time for you to die. And boots him into this horrible, seething sort of watery factory, which is all chemical acid and stuff, and all toxins. And Safin's got his minions working it, but they're all in Dr. No style chemical suits. So he gets kicked into that and bubbles away and burns up like. And then Bond rescues Mathilde and God, what's her name? Madeline. And with Nomi, puts them in a little jet boat, right? Get off to safety, because and tell M to send the rockets in. We're going to blow this place to bits. But first of all, I'm going to have to go and open those big blast doors on the roof, because otherwise the missiles will just bounce off. So he has to go and do this. And of course he has another meeting with Safin, who puts a bullet in him and also manages to taint him with another variant of this nanobot virus, which, by the way, the whole thing was called Heracles, which M organised, not realising what he was unleashing upon the world. After his sort of encounter with Blofeld, where having touched Madeline, it was on his skin, so he's the one that actually kills Blofeld. He's saying to Q, a returning Ben Whishaw, get this out of me. I can't get it out of you. It's there forever. But it's okay, it's not going to harm you. It's a targeted thing, and it's killed the intended target, so you're alright, but it's in you forever. But of course, they keep on manipulating this bloody drug virus thing. So now, although he's been shot as well, and he's been beaten, and he's getting old a bit, and Sapphin's also infected him with a different strain, a strain that's going to kill Madeline and Mathilde if he touches them. Shit. So, and I know. Everyone's saying, well, he doesn't have to die. Why does he sacrifice himself? Because what he does, he manages to open up these big blast doors when the airstrike's called in, and everyone's saying to him, Bond, get to safety, get to a safe distance, just hide. And he's like, there's no point, because in his mind, if he can't live a life without intimacy with Madeline and being able to touch his daughter, then it's no life at all. So he will sacrifice himself. Now, I know everyone's saying, like, we didn't have to die, because he could go off with Paloma. That's a pretty good, if you don't have your wife and daughter, or he's not married to it, is he? If you don't have Mathilde and Madeline, Paloma's a pretty good substitute. And you could watch your family grow and live from afar. Yeah, just haven't got to touch, just don't touch them. But no, I think it has to go this way. It has to work with Bond sacrificing himself. After all the missions he's been on, and he's been denied happiness every time, and with Daniel Craig wanting to go, there really was no other way of doing it. And it's a tremendous sequence as well. And he's taught. It's funny how you've got in a C-130, you've got Q is communicating with them. M back in MI6 in London is communicating with them. Moneypenny's there. Nomi and Madeline and Mathilde are on this little island, and they can communicate with Bond. So everyone's aware of what's happening. And Bond says, like, is Madeline there? Can Madeline hear me? And Q's like, oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry, how stupid of me. So he plugs the two of them together, and Bond has his final words saying, you've created the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, meaning Mathilde. And she finally does admit, yeah, it is your daughter. And James, yeah, she has got your eyes. And it is incredibly moving, I thought. You can say it's contrived, you can say it's corny, you can say that it was unnecessary. But I think it was wholly necessary, and I think Daniel Craig and everybody else handles it superbly. It's a long sequence as well. I mean, it's kind of like, it's a little bit funny as well, because Bond has to open these blast doors, and he's got to fight through legions of goons first of all to do it. And in the great one-take shot where he's going up and down the stairs and he's blasting all these people, like he's taking people out, come out of doorways and that, and a grenade comes down and he goes, whoop, picks up, throws it back up, boom, ha ha ha. Next thing, about 6 grenades come down. He's like, shit, and he has to dive out the way. But he gets up into the control room and Q's directing him. He's like, look, this is a Second World War site, so it's going to be old machinery, old circuitry. And he's trying to talk Bond through it. And he said, I love the way that this scene plays out. He says, Bond, there'll be a control desk. Bond's already at the control desk. And then Bond, there'll be a gear shift. Bond's already found the gear shift. Everything the Q says to him to do, Bond is actually already there doing it. So he opens up these big blast doors. And then, like, okay, job done. And he comes back down again and he's going to make his getaway. And then the door starts shutting again because Sapphin's still there. And Sapphin has closed them over again, so he's got to go and do it again. But he has to fight Sapphin. Well, it's not much of a fight, to be honest. And he does, once he knows what's happened, and he's seen the crushed file of this new nanovirus. So he puts a few bullets into to Sapphin, which is, should have given him a good kicking as well, like. And then he makes his, what they call the track is the final ascent, where he climbs up, badly injured, bleeding from his side, gets up onto the roof, and he's going to see the missiles coming over, and then the starbursts, and then in a great shot, and I know people who said, like, we don't see him die. Oh yes you do. Oh yes you do. He's standing there, and the camera's behind him, and all the explosions rattle towards him, and then he gets fucking vaporized. He's gone. Bond is gone. And it is a genuinely tragic finale and a moving climax. A great epitaph to Daniel Craig. Because it works. It works. In this film, you've had so much humour, so much action, but also so much emotion. and it all seems to, it's equally divided and around the a rather lengthy movie, but it all works. The quiet moments, Bond doesn't yet know that that's his daughter, but he is very suspicious. And they're at Madeline's home in Norway, and he's cooking breakfast, and he's talking to this little girl, and he's playing the dad, and you've never seen Bond like that before. But it works. I mean, Daniel Craig is a bloody good actor, and he's made this role his own. He's put meat on Bond's bones, and he's given him depth, he's given him soul. I mean, all the other Bonds that you've had, and you may be, Sean Connery's the man, he is Bond. You may be like me, Lazenby. You may prefer the camp excess of Roger Moore, the serious Shakespearean quality of Timothy Dalton, or the stupid, smarm of Pierce Brosnan. They all bring something new to Bond, but Daniel Craig is the only one that's made him as three-dimensional as he can possibly be within the strictures of this character. And he's given him a lot of depth, a lot of emotion, and it all comes to the fore during that terrific finale. So, folks, I love it. I say it is flawed. Rami Malek is not the best of bad guys. Blofeld was not the best of bad guys in this run either. And that's been sadly a bit of a trait of the Daniel Craig stuff. But it's all the action in between. It's all the other encounters and skirmishes and chases that he has in the meantime. They're the exciting things. Meeting the actual final Bond villain. It's always, unless it's Donald Pleasance or it's Charles Gray or Telly Savalas playing Blofeld, you're not going to get anything of real substance, because these guys they're going to say their piece, and Bond's going to give them a pithy comeback, but then that's really it. Spectre, I thought, was appalling, apart from the train fight and the Day of the Dead sequence at the start, which my young friend here, Mr. Kentucky Fudge, is sporting here. But I thought it was a lousy film. But this film, No Time to Die, does certainly, it's got to tie up the loose ends of Spectre. It's not making Spectre a better film, but it's making the entire run a more palatable series, so you can watch them all, back to back, in continuity, and you may well find that Spectre fits in now a lot better, because how it's gonna be finished off, and at the end of the Blofeld story. So I think it works, and I've had 2 wonderful times watching it, and I can't wait to see it again. And you can't really say more than that, can you? Will we get a 4K release this year? Possible. It's possible. It could be out by Christmas on home video. I certainly hope it is, because it's you want to be able to watch it at home on your own big screen rather than sitting there for another 3 hours. God, there's only so much popcorn you can have, and the whiskey in cinemas is way overpriced. I can tell you that for a fact, and it doesn't last long enough, the whiskey. But Hans Zimmer's score has grown on me. Paloma is still perhaps the greatest thing in there. I do like Lashana Lynch as Naomi 007. I do like her. I do like Ralph Fiennes as M. Naomi Harris as Moneypenny. Ben Whishaw as Q. They all work out great. I know what I was going to say before. That poor professor. He gets dragged around a lot. He's ousted from London, ends up in Cuba, gets nicked from Cuba onto a boat, then onto a seaplane, then this little island. He travels more than Bond does. But yeah, where are we going to go afterwards? A lot of speculation now, isn't there? I did a video on potential Bonds, but really, it's up in the air. With the female quota that's in here now, the female 007, how are they going to address a Bond coming back in? Are they going to do that thing that everyone thought initially, that James Bond is actually just a code name? So they bring someone in and they, as a sort of, in honour of their best secret agent, they're going to say, well, you know, your code name is James Bond. I don't know about that. Or are we going to go down the road of an MI6 expanded universe, a bit like Marvel or DC, where you're going to have like maybe an offshoot series for Paloma, an offshoot series for Nomi? They could do that. I honestly don't know how they're going to work it out. I would like to think that even though Daniel Craig is gone, that you'd have all our returning MI6 operatives would be back, and they just wipe the slate clean and just have someone new playing Bond, and then just do them as individual stories again. You don't need to have an ongoing saga. And I'm pretty certain that they didn't map out Daniel Craig's tenure as being an ongoing saga. That wasn't going to be the case. But Quantum of Solace managed to bring stuff in with Mr. White, and then you got other Spectre elements coming in, and oh god, you know, they kind of boxed themselves into a bit of a corner there, I think. Overall, I still love it though, and I do love Ralph Fiennes dropping the F-bomb. I thought that was genius, you know, because they had a little chat by the bridge in London, and it's like, so I'm going, oh, Moneypenny and Q, for fuck's sake, you know. Oh, for fuck's sake. And then you've got like Q comes in and he's going, oh, Bond, I haven't seen you in years, it's great to see you again. And Bond's going, he knows I'm staying at yours. So in this, we said goodbye to Felix Leiter. And that's a touching scene as well. It parallels Bond losing Vesper. Vesper's drowning in the lift in the collapsing house in Venice. And he can't save, he can't get the door open, and she drowns. Felix has been shot by that venomous, what's his name, Logan Ash. But Bond's still trying to save him. But the ship is sinking, so Bond has to get off. And Felix just goes, no, don't worry about me now. And just floats away, a bit like Vesper did. And it is quite a horrible way for him to go. Horrible ways to go. Bond does get his own back on that Logan Ash. In the big Norway chase, he manages to, one of the cars flips over and Logan Ash is sort of half underneath it, but it's teetering on the brink. And he's like, you know, come on, I've always been a fan of yours. And Bond just like pushes the air, this massive Land Rover just crushes him. Perfect. That's a good chase sequence as well. That all the action scenes are great. I've heard some people say that they're actually underwhelmed by the action. I wasn't at all. I thought it was terrific. Certainly better than Spectre. Anyway, folks, there you go. That was the spoiler one. He dies! He has to die. Felix dies. M swears. And the little girl's got Daniel Craig's eyes. So, anyway, folks, do let me know what you thought of it, because now you've all seen it. So, comment below. And if you're suddenly finding a new bit of affection for Hans Zimmer's score, I don't blame you. As I say, it's grown on me enormously. It's a propulsive action score with moments of intimacy, moments of poignancy, and really plays out with a high, soaring emotion at the end with the final cues. Having said that, Billie Eilish's song is still piss poor. Although, do listen out for there's a little hidden reference in the music for that song, a little Bondian sort of reference. I won't say where it is, but it's there. If you listen properly, you'll hear it. Anyway, folks, there you go. No time to die, and no time left on this video. So please, keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. Fight the good fight. And, you know, you don't have to sacrifice yourself at the end of a mission. But, you know, sometimes if you can't touch your loved one, what else are you going to do? Folks, please, keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all later. And Now we've got Bond out the way, Halloween can begin. Horrors aplenty. Ooh. So please, see you all later.